All right, we are back on our topic again on Python. That's coding for beginners. Today we'll look at the chapter 2 of what we are learning on a previous time. So let's go straight without wasting my time. Okay, so what is Python? If you have to ask ourselves, as we all know, or Python is widely used high-level programming language created by Guido van Rossum in the late 1980s. So the one who created Python's name is Guido van Rossum. This man is the developer of Python computer language. The language places strong emphasis on code readability and simplicity, making it possible for programmers to develop applications rapidly. It says over here, he made the code in such a way that it emphasizes on code readability. It helps programmers be able to read codes, and then it makes it more simple. So it makes the work or coding easier for programmers. So using Python programming language is at a very beginning level for every starter in coding. Like all high-level programming languages, Python code resembles the English language, which computers are unable to understand. Let's read it. It says, like all high-level programming languages, Python code resembles the English language, which computers are unable to understand. That's what programming, or that's what Python program looks like. It's more like the basic English languages we speak, which makes it unable for computer to understand. But codes that we write in Python have to be interpreted by a special program known as the Python interpreter. So which means we normally code in Python just like how we write in our normal English or use the normal English. But we've got another software within the Python, which is called the Python interpreter, which helps interpret the programs or the codes that we enter into the program or the language, which we will have to install before we can code, test and execute our Python programs. So this Python interpreter is what we will be looking at, and that's what we'll be installing, and that's what we'll be looking at in this chapter. We'll be installing this Python program and how to use it. We will look at how to install the Python interpreter in the chapter 3. There are also a number of third-party tools such as Python exe or Python installer that allows us to package our Python code into standalone executable programs for some of the most popular operating systems like Windows and Mac OS. This allows us to distribute our Python programs without requiring the user to install the Python interpreter, which means we have another alternative we can use without installing the Python interpreter, which is the Python exe or the Python installer. It also helps the package of our Python code into standalone executable programs. So when you use these softwares to code, it automatically interprets it. You don't need to get an interpreter to interpret for you. So this software as Python exe or installer helps us to execute our codes instantly without the need of Python interpreter. Okay, so now we are done on what is Python. So we have a brief idea on what Python is. Let me go over it again so that we all know. Python is widely used high-level programming language created by Guido van Rossum in the late 1980s. As you all know, as I said, this man is the developer of Python. He brought Python for us to be able, we coders to be able to use it in programming. And Python is also a simple level type of program used by all coders. Most people prefer to use Python because it's a basic level programming language. If you are able to make or code in Python, you can be able to code in C, C++, and other ones. Just that their variables are what will be a little bit different, or how the variables are being stored will be quite different, but they are all almost the same, which Python makes it possible for you to code in these other aspects of programming languages. Okay, if you've seen what Python is, then the question now is, why do you have to learn Python? There are a large number of high-level programming languages available, such as C, C++, and Java. The good news is all high-level programming languages are very similar to one another. As I said, what differs is mainly the syntax, the libraries available, and the way we access those libraries. I said variables rather in the first side. It's rather libraries. The libraries available and the way we access those libraries. A library is simply a collection of resources and pre-written codes that we can use when we write our programs. A library is simply a collection of resources and pre-written codes that we can use when we write our programs. So that's a library. If you learn one language, well, you can easily learn a new language in fraction of the time it took you to learn the first language. What it says over here is, when you learn Python or you learn a language in coding, it can help you learn the other languages. Let me say you took about a year in learning one language. After you are done with that language and you've learned it well, learning another language will be more easier, which means if you use 1 year in the first language, this time you use about a month, half a year, let me say 6 months this time to learn the other languages. And as time goes on, the months or the way you use, the years you used to learning your languages will start to reduce, because you've learned, or almost all programming languages are the same. Just that the variables, just that the libraries and then the syntax are what is quite different from them, but they are almost the same. If you are new to programming, Python is a great place to start. That's why we say Python is a basic language, computer language for all beginners. If you are new to programming, Python is a great place to start. One of the key features of Python is its simplicity, making it ideal language for beginners to learn. Most programs in Python require considerably few lines of code to perform the same tasks compared to other languages such as C. This leads to fewer programming errors and reduces the development time needed, which means Python is very beginner level computer language. It does what? This leads to fewer programming errors. So if in other programming language like C, C++, you'll be having much errors, in Python it reduces the errors that you'll be having. And then it also reduces the development time needed. If you are developing a particular programming in Python, it reduces the development time that you need in developing that particular program, unlike other programming languages. In addition, Python comes with an extensive collection of third-party resources that extend the capabilities of the language. As such, Python can be used for a large variety of tasks, such as for desktop applications, database applications, network programming, game programming, and even mobile development. Python helps in doing all these things so easily. Last but not the least, Python is a cross-platform language, which means that code written for one operating system such as Windows, will work well on Mac OS or Linux without making any changes to the Python code. This is what I like about Python, which means if I'm able to code using Python in Windows, that same code can also be used in Mac OS or Linux without me making any changes to the Python code that I did or I coded within the Windows. It makes it more easier. Convinced that Python is the language to learn, let's now get started. Okay, so now let's look at getting ready for Python, that's installing the interpreter. Before we can write our first Python code, we have to download the appropriate interpreter for our computers. We will be using Python 3 in this book because as stated on the official Python site, Python 2 times is legacy, Python 3 times is the present and the future of the language. In addition, Python 3 eliminates many quirks that can unnecessarily trip our beginning programmers. So, to install the interpreter for Python 3, head over this very site. So now let's go on this site and check on the Python. So you can enter into your browser www.python.org. When you open it, the first page it will open or to show you or that will bring up is this very site over here. It will bring you to this very particular site. Then when you are looking for the Python of a different OS or you are having a different operating system such as Windows, Linux or Unix, Mac OS or others, you need to select. So if I'm running on Windows, I will select the Windows, but automatically when I click from here, it will download automatically from my operating system. But if maybe I'm having Linux operating system or Mac OS, then I need to click on it and then select the type I want to download. Else, if I download this one and it doesn't match with my operating system, it won't work. So you need to select your correct operating system and then download the correct interpreter for your operating system. Not everyone runs Windows, so if you are not running Windows, then please don't download Windows interpreter. You choose the ones over here and you download your type of software for your operating system. So now you've seen how to download it. So the correct version should be indicated at the top of the web page. Click on the version of Python 3 and the software will start downloading. Alternatively, if you want to install a different version, scroll down to the page as I said over there. That's what you will be done for you. If you want to download a different version of it, you must scroll down to it. Then you select the version of which you want to download. So today in this version, we are using the version 342. In this course, that's the version we are using. You can choose to download this particular version as I'm talking over here to download, or you can choose to download the latest version that will come up first on the web page that you went to. Scroll down towards the end of the page and you will see a table listing various installers for that version. Choose the correct installer for your computer. The installer to use depends on two factors. Okay, so now installing it we have two types of operating systems or two architectures for operating systems. We have the Windows, Mac OS and Linux, and within these ones too, we have the 64-bit and then a 32-bit for each operating system. Normally 32-bit is also known as times 86. If you don't see 32-bit, you see times 86 over there. Times 86 is the same as 32-bit, but for 64-bit it's always 64-bit. So if your Windows is 32-bit, then it means you will download the interpreter, which is a 32-bit operating software. Or if it is 64-bit, you download the 64-bit operating software. If you make a mistake and download a different architecture for your Windows, Mac OS or Linux, it may not run well or it may not run at all on your computer. So you need to know the architecture of your machine. To know it, I only know of Windows. Currently, I can show of Windows own. I can't show for other operating systems because I don't have them here. So let's check for Windows how to check your architecture. So first, you head over here. You right click on your computer. Then you go to properties. So on my properties or my computer, when I check here, I can see it from here. The system type, I can see it from here, 64-bit operating system. So the architecture for my computer is 64 bits. So if I'm going to download the interpreter, I will download 64 bits for it. I will not download 32 bits for it. For instance, if you are using 64-bit, as I said, computer, you will likely be using Windows 86 to 64 MSI installer. Just click on the link to download it. If you download and run the wrong installer, no worries, you get an error message and the interpreter will not install. As I said, simply download the correct installer and you are good to go. Once you have successfully installed the interpreter, you are ready to start coding. Alright, so now let's enter into our coding aspect. So we will be writing our code using the IDLE program that comes bundled with the Python interpreter. To do that, let's first launch the IDLE program. You launch the IDLE program like how you launch any other programs. For instance, on Windows 10, you can search for it by typing IDLE from your search bar. Once it is found, click on the IDLE into brackets Python General User Interface. To launch it, you will be presented by Python shell shown below. So when you launch it, this is what will come. This is what will appear when you launch your Python IDLE. This is what will come. Let's see how it works over here. So I have pinned mine right down over here. This is mine. But let's go as the book is saying over here. Let's go. So let me also search for it. As you can see, it showed up right over here. So I will just click on it to launch it. And then here, you see, as it is over there, the same thing is what is over here. So when you launch, this is what you'll be greeted with. This is the interface that will show when you launch it. This is the interface that will show. So the same thing, Python. My version I'm using is Python 3.8.0. You can also choose to download the version that is in this book, or you can choose to download the latest version you want to use. So this is the interface that will come as is said in the book, exactly the interface that will show. Okay, let's continue. So the Python shells allow us to use Python in interactive mode. This means we can enter one command at a time. The shell waits for a command from the user, execute it and return the results of the execution. After this, the shell waits for the next command. When we say shell, this is the shell. This particular thing is the shell. Try typing the following into the shell. The line starting with this thing, this particular thing are the commands you should type while the lines are after the command shown below. So this particular thing is what it's talking about, that is the shell. This particular thing. Let's launch it again and see it. As you can see, this thing over here is a command line, also the shell. So this is what, when you enter into your code, it writes the codes and then it returns the listing for, as I say, the Python shell allows us to use Python in interactive mode. The Python shell rather is this entire thing over here. Is a Python shell. This entire thing over here is a Python shell. This thing is a command line instead. It's a command line. It's not a Python shell. So the Python shell allows us to use the Python interactive mode. This means we can enter one command at a time. The shell waits for a command from the user, execute it and return the results of the execution. After this, the shell waits for the next command. Try typing the following into the shell. The line starting with. So we'll start from this line in front of. We don't type down here. We type from the front of this line. You should type what lines after the command show the results. So we are going to try typing this particular thing inside it and see what it tells us. Let's try typing it inside and see what it tells us. So it says we should type 2 plus. For those who don't know how to write a plus, you hold shift, then the plus sign on your keyboard. It will give you the plus. Then 3. then we press enter. You see, it has given us the answer over here. So 5. So our first code, so 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Making it just like a calculator, making it so simple for us. Okay, let's go to the next one. 3 less than 3 greater than 2. So it says over here, is 3 greater than 2? It says true automatically. Let's go to the next one too. It says we should print hello world. Let's see what it will tell us. As you can see, it has printed for us hello world. So these are first coding. This is how the coding is being done. For now, we're using the Python shell. As time goes on, we'll jump right into how to run and execute a real code. So this is what it gives at the Python shell. It makes it more easy. So if you want to try your hands on coding, the Python shell makes it very simple and then very easier for you to be able to try your hands on a code before jumping into the real file or creating your real code. This we cannot use this one in creating the code, because when you close this particular, when I close this thing, everything I lose everything over here. So I can't use this particular place to create my code. It's only like an example to check whether the code you are entering is correct or it's not correct, or whether it will work when you do it or it won't work. It's just like that. It makes it possible for you to run your codes, trying your codes here before entering into the real part of your coding. Because if I close this thing and I open it again, then everything will be gone. Everything is gone, as you can see. Everything is gone. So which means we can't use this particular place for coding. But for example, this is what we're using for the coding. So it says when you type 2 plus 3, you are issuing a command to the shell, asking it to evaluate the value of 2 plus 3. Hence, the shell returns answer 5. When you type 2 greater than 2, 3 greater than 2, you are asking the shell if 3 is greater than 2. The shell replies true. Finally, print is a command asking the shell to display the lines hello world. So this print over here, this particular thing over here, print is a command telling what is in this bracket, telling the shell that this particular thing in this bracket should be printed. So print this particular thing in the bracket. So we say print hello world, and then it returns to us hello world. So the print is a command. This print is a command. It's also a variable, a type of variable. The Python shell is a very convenient tool for testing Python commands. As I said, it's for testing Python commands, especially when we are first getting started with the language. However, if you exit from the Python shell and enter it again, all commands you type will be gone, as I did. As you check from here, all my Python codes that I entered were gone. When I open and I close it again, everything was gone. That is how the shell works. In addition, you cannot use the Python shell to create an actual program. We can't use the Python shell to create an actual program. It's only for testing. To code an actual program, you need to write your code in a text file and save it with a py extension, .py extension. That's the extension for saving Python codes. This file is known as a Python script. So the file that will be saved is known as a Python script. So those files are what is used in running your codes after you save them. To create a Python script, click on a file, new file in the top menu of a Python shell. So let's do it and see what it says. It says to create our code, we need to do what? Click on new file. So here we click over here, this particular place, we click on file. Then we come to new file. So it also opens another window for us. It says we click on file, then we go to new file, which opens another window for us. Okay. This will bring up a text editor. So the window that is opened is known as a text editor. The window that was opened, the second window that was opened is known as the text editor. That we are going to use to write our very first program. What we did was not program, it was a test. These particular things were a test for the Python shells to see how it works. By writing the program, writing your actual program is when you follow the process of opening, or you open. When you follow this process, you click on the file, then you go to new file in the top menu of the Python shell. That's when you begin writing your real program. The Hello World program, writing the Hello World program is a kind of like a rite of passage for all new programmers. We'll be using this program to formalize ourselves with the IDLE software. Okay, so let's see what it says we should do in the text editor. Type the following code in the text editor, not the shell. Print hello world. Okay, it says you should type the following into the text editor, not the shell. So which means this one. Let me close it and start it again. So to open the text editor, we'll click on the file, then come to new file, which opens a new box or a new window for us known as the text editor. It says you should print the hello world. Let's see what it says. Let's print it and see. Print So after you've written this thing inside, let's see what it says you should do again. Okay, he said we should write. So after you've written it inside, print hello world. We've written it inside. You should notice that the print line, that's this one, it gives print line. The line, sorry, you should notice that the line hash prints the words hello world in red, while the word print is in purple and hello world is in green. So the hash print, let's see. For here, because of the version I'm using, it didn't give me exactly as it was saying in the book because of the version. But if I'm using the version 3, 4, 2 or so, it will give me the hash over here. But it's not a wrong code, it's a correct code. As far as the print is in purple and then the hello world is in green, it means the code is going to work. Just that the hash didn't show over there. So the line hash prints hello world, prints the words hello world. It's actually not a part of the program. It's a comment written to make our code more readable for other programmers. Actually, the hash print is a comment that was written by the developer or the one who wrote this book. He put it over here. The hash print is a comment. I got a bit confused on it. It's actually not part of the program, or it will not show, but it was actually written. So to give out a comment, as example over here, to add comment to our program, we type hash sign in front of the line of the comment like this. So hash, this is a comment, hash, this is also a comment, dash, this is yet another comment. Then alternatively, we can use 3 digits, single quotes or double quotes for multiple comments like this. So this is the multiple quotes. So to make a comment, this is what we do. Either we use the hash or we use the 3 double quotes. Then you write the comment and write. Now click file and then save. Let's see what it says over there. Let's try it. Let's do what it says over there. Let's write the comments there so that you all get a brief understanding of what it's trying to say over here. In all that I'm trying to say is how to write the code. If you hear me making errors in it, it's actually nothing. Just I want you to understand how to write the code. All that is needed is when you're able to write a code, then you're good to go. So let's do as it says in the book over here and see. So see exactly as it says, the hash has been printed in red color. So let's do it. Print so because it's a comment, you see it has been printed in red line. They are all in red line. Here it says hello world serves different purposes. It says the hash print the word hello world is in red while the word print is in purple. So hash print gives out red color. So when you bring hash, every code or anything that you write before the print or in front of the print is in red. But when you don't bring the hash and then it's an actual code, then the print color changes to purple color. And then the one in a bracket, that's the hello world, the word you are writing or the word you are particular word you are trying to tell the print command to give out is in now in a green color, as we saw over here, or as we can see over here. 2 different codes. So the print sign over here, the hash print sign over here, everything from here gives out a red color. But this one without the hash print, it gives out 2 different colors. That's the purple and the green. So this is the actual code we're using. This one is just a comment. Okay, let's try the other comment too again and see. The other comment it says over here is we can use this one, we can use this, we can use the hash or we can use the double quotes comment type of code for the comments. So let's see how that one also works. If they will be printed or they will not be printed. Let's see what comes after. Okay, so now let's enter them and see. So okay, let's enter the hash again from here. So this is a comment. Let's try the double quotes 1, 2 and see. This is yet another comment. For this one, you must close it. If you don't close it, then it will print. Because I brought the 3 command line, I must close it by entering the same 3 command lines over here to close it. Or else it will give you error. So I must close it using the 3 comments line or using the 3 comments command. close it as it says over here. You start it and then you end it over here. Okay, so we say now click on the file to save as, to save your code. Make sure you save it in the py extension. Done. Va. Okay, let's see what it says over here. So let's save and see. File, save as. So you see, this is it. Python files, pyw. If you try this test, if you save it in test file, your code not work. If you save it in this one too, your code not work. So the only way to save it is this one. Then you name it. So let's name it example 6 and save it. I don't want to save. Let me save it in documents. So example 6. Let's save it and see. Save. So now it have saved. Okay, now let's go to run. Let's see what the man said. He said, you have successfully written your first Python program. Finally click on run. Run mode to execute the program, or F5. You should see the word hello world printed in Python shell. Let's see if it really does that. So let's click on the run module. Exactly. You see, hello world is being printed. Hello world, only hello world is being printed. These ones, the comment sides are not printed, all because all these things are comments. These ones are all comments, so they didn't print, except this one that was printed. Only this one was printed. Only this one was printed. The rest didn't work. All these ones didn't work, but only this one was printed because of the comment lines or these commands that we gave to them, so they didn't work. So now that's it. We've written our first code. This is how it works. And let's try the F5 too. It says F5. Let's enter F5. F5 also runs it as well. So hello world. So this is our first program, or this is our first code. So now we'll be ushered into the coding world. We'll be ushered into the coding world. Coding is very, very interesting. So that is how it is. That is how it is. Okay, so it says run module as we did. You should see hello world printed on your Python shell. So we are done on our program for today. So on next we'll go into chapter 4 on our programming languages. So stay tuned for more videos. Thank you for watching.